Hello guys, today's video is the most important video I'll ever make. I'm taking you all the way back 14 years ago to the beginning of my life and how I got to where I am with riding today. Please go grab some chocolate and sit back and relax because this is my riding story. It all started here. I was born. Adorable, I know. And I was lucky to be born too, because a few years before this my mum's horse fell on her and almost crushed her to death, leaving her in a wheelchair for half a year, so really I'm very lucky to actually exist. My mum and gran ride, so from the second I could walk, they were desperate for me to ride. By the time I was a year old, we had bought Hannah, a 14-1-hand 6-year-old Highland mare. She was really stubborn, but a perfect all-rounder, and we still have her today, 14 years later. At this point we had 3 horses: Norman, a 15-3-hand 12-year-old gelding, Pauline, a 15-2-hand 12-year-old mare who was absolutely crazy by the way, and Hannah as well. Now you know about that, I think we need to skip a few years later to when I was 3. This was probably the first time I rode a horse that wasn't ours. On a holiday to Aviemore I rode this little pony, which is probably where my love of riding started. Fast forward to 6-year-old me, I began to get riding lessons at a local riding school as mum and dad had agreed Hannah was too big for me to learn on as she was 14 1-hands and I was very small. Colleen was way too crazy and Norman could no longer be ridden due to his leg problems. At the riding school I began riding 2 ponies called Polo and Bruno. I loved it, but one day I got a really big scare because I wasn't a very confident person. By this time I was trotting in the lead rein. I was only 7 and also a very nervous rider and it didn't take me much to throw me. One morning when I was getting led down to the arena, Bruno slipped a little. It was just a little tiny slip. It sounds really pathetic looking back, and it was, but I got such a huge fright that I got off and refused to get back on for a whole year. Now I was about 8. Mum had decided to teach me to ride Hannah along with going to the pony club as well. Soon came time for me to go to my first ever show, and I remember it really well. It was a show jumping competition. Mum took me around the course leading Hannah, and you can imagine just how thrilled I was when I found out I'd come 3rd out of 5. I'd beaten 2 people, and that's probably where my competitiveness came from. Not gonna lie, I can't remember much that happened after that, so let's fast forward a few months. I could now walk, trot, canter and jump small, as I'd been going to the pony club for over a year and riding Hannah at home too, so my riding had improved a lot. Mum and dad had finally agreed it was time for me to get a first pony to share it with my sister Sophie, who you all know as My Pony Heidi on Instagram. And I'm sure you're thinking this is when Heidi comes in, but no, it's not yet. We searched for a really long time for a perfect pony because we wanted to get it right, a year to be precise. Eventually we found a lovely little pony called Magic. She was my idea of a dream pony. She was 12 hands and around 11 years old. Everything was going so perfectly when we got her. We got her out in full loan and I took her to lessons and arena hires and things like that. She popped everything perfectly and did everything I asked, and she was also really pretty. It was all going really well until eventually when we started hacking out she kept trying to read up and spin. As you can imagine I lost a lot of confidence. As I said earlier, I was a very nervous rider. Magic went back shortly after that. Soon after we found another really nice pony advertised as a perfect child's first pony, and it was when we tried it at first. Smarty was a 12-2-hand 8-year-old gelding and I thought he was really cute. It was. Well, we got him soon after trying him and it was all going really well too for the first few months. The problems kind of began when he started to get fitter and I started riding him more often. He started taking off and bucking and it was just awful for me and it shattered my confidence to the point where I was petrified to even trot him. Smarty went back, but this didn't redeem me and my confidence at all. I just wanted to stop riding and I lost all my confidence I'd built up with Hannah, and I'd built up quite a lot with jumping Magic as well, but I just lost all my confidence again. I got more lessons at riding school ponies again, and it took a long time for me to start cantering again because I got such a fright. A few months later, my old riding instructor suggested we buy one of the riding school ponies called Heidi. I've got to admit, I didn't want her at all at first. I knew I would grow out of her within a year or two because she was very small. She was only 12 2 hands, and besides that, a girl I knew was loaning her already, and I knew how gutted she'd be if we bought Heidi. However, we did get Heidi in the end, and I'm really glad we did now. She's turned out perfect. Heidi was a 15-year-old mare when we first bought her, and we still got her today, obviously. We had a perfect first year together, and we did loads of local shows nearby. Heidi was also a really, really quick show jumper, so we won a lot of classes as well, which was really loads of fun. My highlight was definitely Barhead Christmas Show, where we won a huge cross poles class and got our first ever sash, something I had always wanted to get, and I've still got it in my house today. The second year went really well too, but by the end of that I was starting to feel ready for a second pony. Me and Heidi had kind of reached Heidi's limit in jumping, and I wanted to get a more showy pony to do more showing, and obviously Heidi wasn't a very showy pony, and we hadn't won much showing classes bar the Pony Club pony classes, which we won a lot of because Heidi was really, really good at it. I'd completely lost interest in show jumping and dressage and didn't have any interest in eventing, as Heidi was a very spooky pony. By the time I was 11 and was also starting to look a little by this time I was 11 and was also starting to look a little tall for Heidi. I had decided I wanted either a Phil or a Dale. This time I did not want to see a million different ones though, so I was very careful with what I went to see. One day we went to see a lovely Phil called Cassie. She was my absolute dream and I loved riding her. We decided to buy her, but unfortunately she failed the vetting at the very last minute. You can't even imagine how upset I was. I thought this was it. We couldn't find any other Phils that looked Hoy's quality, and we thought about giving up for the time being. As a last resort, my mum put a wanted ad up on HorseQuest with exactly what I wanted. Funny how fate works. The next day a woman messaged us about her Phil, and he was exactly, to the point, what I was looking for. He looked absolutely stunning in the pictures and he had a beautiful trot. The next week we travelled the 16-hour round trip to Birmingham. When we arrived, Mum had said, "I'm not actually sure this horse will be right for you." We all thought it looked a bit strong and powerful for me from the photos. He was absolutely beautiful. It was very heavy snow the day I tried Clyde. Even when I first saw him walking down that path, I thought, no, this isn't going to work out, he's going to be too much for me. When I got on him, he was the most gentle, well-mannered pony ever. The following week he came to our house after passing the vetting. I couldn't believe it. At first I was just planning on showing him until I realised how good a jumper he was after jumping him a few times. Phils aren't built to jump right. Not true for Clyde, he absolutely loves it and he's really good at it. Our first show was a disaster if I'm honest. I couldn't control him at all. He galloped around in the go-round and bucked with excitement which really scared me. By July we were getting regular lessons and jumping higher. This was also the month I started the Instagram account I have today. It only had 2,000 followers back then though. Up until then I had started it as an art account but didn't have time to post, so I decided to use it as my horse account, which I still have today. Little did I know it would grow to 30,000 followers. That is crazy. Anyway, back to the story. 2019 came the beginning of my first ever proper show season with Clyde. We had a lot of ups and downs, but my highlight for the year was definitely 100% the Royal Highland Show, which we jumped clear at. Not many people can jump clear at the first time at the RHS, let alone in a Phil pony. Clyde was also the only Phil that went clear in the entire class of 52 horses. Now we're at the present. I'm so proud of what I've achieved. I've started my own art business, I'm earning money from YouTube and Instagram, and I've come so far with Clyde and jumped courses higher than he's ever done and I've ever done. This year I hope to attend more Hoys qualifiers in the hope to one day achieve my dream of qualifying for Hoys, as well as host some meetups and to meet my followers and subscribers, and I also have Clyde the best birthday ever planned. I hope you've enjoyed listening and watching because this took a long time to make, but I'm glad I did. And that was my riding story.